To go until election night. The race is shaping up to be one of the tightest in recent memory.
A new Reuters ISPOS showing Vice President Kamala Harris with a narrow lead, 46-43, over her opponent, former President Donald Trump. Those numbers still well within the margin, though, of error. So this race is, at the moment, essentially a tie.
Yeah, Trump, during a rally in Greensboro, North Carolina, called out his Democratic opponent for seemingly taking the day off with so few days left before the election.
Think of this. We have 14 days to the most important election in the history of our country. You know what she did? She took a day off. How do you take a day off? 14 days, you don't take days off, right?
While Harris was absent from the campaign trail, she did do a sit-down interview for NBC News. The vice president was questioned on a variety of topics, including whether she was being straight with the American people about President Biden's mental decline.
Of course. Joe Biden is an extremely accomplished, experienced, and capable in every way that anyone would want if they're president.
And you never saw anything like what happened at the debate night behind closed doors with him?
It was a bad debate. People have bad debates.
All right, so let's bring in our political panel this morning. We have former Speaker of the Oklahoma House of Representatives, T.W. Shannon, as well as Democratic strategist Dominique James. Thank you both for being with us this morning. Boy, we are down to the wire. Less than 2 weeks left in this race, and Harris now absent from the campaign trail, as we heard the former president allude to. Instead, Democrats brought out former President Barack Obama, joined by rapper Eminem. And in fact, we heard the former president doing a little Eminem rap himself. So, Dominique, is this a smart strategy this late in the race, do you think?
Absolutely. And I have so much nostalgia just remembering where we are in a period called Get Out the Vote with political campaigns. There are some people where they aren't naturally inclined to follow politics, but when they see people that they admire, whether it's Eminem or an athlete or an unlikely supporter, it's making them pause, pay attention, and say, hey, there's something to do with Harrison Walls. So I absolutely think it's a smart strategy, and I love all of the surrogates and community leaders that they're bringing out.
Well, despite not running against each other directly, Obama and Trump certainly did not hold back with their respective digs on one another. Take a listen real quick.
We do not need to see what an older, loonier Donald Trump looks like with no guardrails. America's ready to turn the page.
And I think he's a real jerk because I've watched him campaign over the last couple of days. I watched him campaign. What a divider he is, right? What a divider he is. He'd divide this country. He couldn't care less.
Okay, TW, at this point, do those personal attacks just really start to turn voters off? And maybe should they consider putting the actual issues at the forefront of these rallies?
You make a great point, Crystal. By the way, great job filling in for Fanchon this morning. But I will tell you, this campaign's gotten really nasty. And I don't know what happened to Obama's mantra of when they go low, we go high, or whatever that was before. It looks like when they go low, they just get nasty. But the reality is we're 2 weeks out from this election cycle. And the reason that they're pulling out Barack Obama is because Kamala Harris is hemorrhaging with black voters. We see black men, surveying at some 30%. Lining up to vote for Donald Trump, which is pretty historic in modern history. And that's because his message to make America great again and an economy that works for everybody is resonating, and empty promises from Kamala Harris and her unwillingness to address the real issues like inflation, which she caused, and like the open border where 21 million people have entered this country illegally. She still hasn't accounted for that. She hasn't taken ownership of it. And American people are sick of it. They know Donald Trump, when he was president, Americans were more safe, they were more free, and they were more prosperous. And on Crystal's point that she made earlier about where we are in this campaign cycle, I would just say this. I would much rather be in Donald Trump's position than Kamala Harris's position at this point in the election, because in all of the battleground states, Donald Trump is tied or leading. And that should be a scary proposition for Kamala Harris, who is basically the incumbent at this point.
And Dominique, we'll have you respond to this whole low blow theme because it's going down on both sides. I mean, we have to admit that. What are your thoughts on it at this point in the race?
I think it's very royal, Donald Trump calling people jerks when he has had absolutely nothing positive to say about anyone in his circle, whether it's his chief of staff, people he's hired, Oh, and by the way, let me remind everyone that he sent a mob to go try and lynch his vice president. So Donald Trump, someone just
That's
needs to
not
put a
true,
mirror up
Dominique.
to his face. Someone needs to put a mirror up to his face because he is just talking out of both sides of his mouth. And we all know that it's his ego that is actually wounded because Donald Trump was actually the first to take a break because he's the oldest politician to ever run for president.
Well, in all fairness, I would have to say, too, that both sides are really kind of guilty at this point. And watching it, it kind of reminds me of when my kids argue, and I'm having to say, okay, now both of you apologize to one another, and let's get back to the issue at hand, because they're really both kind of taking low digs at each other.
Well, and here's the other aspect, too. You know, you've had 2 attempted assassination attempts on the former president. You've even had people in the Democratic Party say we need to tone down the rhetoric, but it seems like the more separation there is from these incidents, everybody forgets.
No, that's exactly right, Dominique. Listen, I'm at Mar-a-Lago last night, and the president came and spoke, and he gave a rousing address to the crowd there. He's in great condition. He's active. He had just flown in, I think, from Atlanta. This guy never stops working for the American people. Not only does he not stop working, but he's even taking a bullet for the American people. And while the Democrats claim to be the party of moral superiority, we see them time and time again using the same old tactics. We even had Barack Obama lecturing African-American men, trying to set up the blame for African-American men for Kamala Harris's failures, which I just found unacceptable and beneath the office of a former president of the United States. But we know this campaign isn't about personalities, it isn't about rhetoric, it's about records. And Donald Trump has a record where he delivered for not just African Americans, not just Hispanic Americans, but for all Americans. We didn't have wars like we have now with Kamala Harris, and we didn't have these 21 million illegals, some 13,000 of them who are actually convicted dangerous felons. So she's got a lot to account for that she just frankly hasn't owned up to, and the polls are reflecting that. And I believe that election night is going to be a very big night for Donald Trump. This is the greatest comeback in American history.
And speaking of Trump's rally in North Carolina, former Democratic presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard joined Trump on stage to make a major announcement. Let's listen to that.
I think I said Atlanta, you're right.
To stand here with you today, President Trump, and announce that I'm joining the Republican Party.
So, T-Dub, we wanted that to play out. I mean, I could have said it myself, but it's better with her. Did this come as a surprise to you?
It's not so much as a surprise. She's certainly been leaning and hinting that direction, but I think it is symptomatic of a much larger issue that's happening in this campaign. Donald Trump has transformed the Republican Party into the party of the working class person. And so you see people from all walks of life expanding and growing the Republican Party because the Democrats have become the party of elites. That's the reason you keep having these same celebrities coming out, whether it's Eminem or whoever else you have, you know, these elites that live really in this bubble, either in Los Angeles or in the coast. But the real people of America, the people that make this country work, the people that wake up every single day and put their lives on the line, whether in the United States military or serving their country abroad, these Americans are lining up to make America great again because they know Donald Trump is standing and working for the American people.
So former White House Chief of Staff John Kelly is now getting into all of the political fray. And Kelly, speaking with the New York Times, alleges that Trump fits into the general definition of fascist, raising concerns that Trump would rule like a dictator if elected next month. So we definitely want to get your thoughts on, each of you, get your thoughts on this. Dominique and TW, can you both weigh in on that?
Absolutely. There should not be any doubt that if Donald Trump is reelected, he will rule as a dictator. He has already promised to go after his political opponents. Just yesterday, I saw a news story that said he wants more generals like Hitler, as in Adolf Hitler. So the prospect of a Donald Trump, a second Donald Trump term, is absolutely terrifying. But it's also really bad for our democracy because the Supreme Court has already given him immunity. Everyone in America knows Donald Trump is chaotic. He is unhinged. And we all remember the PTSD that we had just trying to survive through his presidency. So it's absolutely a bad thing if he's reelected. And General Kelly is absolutely right. He would behave as a fascist.
TW.
Crystal, I'm sorry. That's the same dangerous rhetoric that I think led to this assassination attempts in many regards. Frankly, there is no evidence that Donald Trump would rule as a fascist. And if you need more evidence, just check out the last 4 years where Americans were more free than they've ever been. It was actually, if you check the record, it was actually this Democrat administration led by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris where we saw major lockdowns during COVID, where you needed a travel, you needed a travel passport just to go get groceries at the grocery store or to go see a movie or to engage in commerce. So the reality is it's the Democrat Party that has been cracking down on people's freedoms and taking things away, even to the point where we're promoting mutilating children. That's a big proponent being pushed by the Democrat Party this time. Donald Trump has been very clear about his message about freedom. He wants to make sure that the government gets out of people's lives and that people are allowed to go make a living for their families.
All right, TW
We
Shannon.
never, and I hope we can agree on this. It is never okay to admire Hitler, and Donald Trump and many people within the party, including within the Project 2025 agenda, have implied as such. So no, we have to draw a line.
That's never happened.
Donald Trump is not doing that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
That's never happened.